All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is pretty clear that we have had a lot of news dumped on us after that version 2.4 livestream. And what I wanted to do today was, instead of, going over all of the stuff that we've seen in the trailer over again, I actually wanted to just go ahead and actually break down some of the events, some of the specifics when it comes to the newest characters releasing, Cartethyia and Lupa, and all of the actually amazing things that are going to be in this patch. Lightly, we toss the crown. And so with that, let's go ahead and start breaking down everything that we're going to be seeing in this version trailer over here and give some more clarity for maybe where you should be farming for some of your wave plates in the future and how you can best prepare for potentially one of the best, if not the best patches in Wuthering Waves history. I've gone ahead and I've made the claim that I think 2.4 actually looks better than 2.0, and so hopefully the patch will live up to his expectations. So with that, we do have the release of Cartethyia, who is going to be coming out as, and this is really great that Kuro Games is giving us this information early, she's going to be releasing as a arrow sword user who's going to have all of her Resonator Ascension materials, as well as her skill upgrade materials, actually shown weeks before she launches. And so with this in mind, she is going to be using Unfading Glory and Bamboo Irises as those baseline Ascension mats, and you won't actually be able to farm those, I do believe, until the 2.4 update is available. So do keep that in mind. You're going to have to grind the new boss, who I do believe is, let me just see over here where that new boss is. Yeah, this bad boy over here. This thing. So that's going to be one of the 4 cost echoes that we're going to be seeing, because every single boss that drops Ascension mats is a 4 cost echo, and I would imagine this is the best in slot we're going to have for Lupa moving forward. So that's going to be what you're going to have to do to actually grind her and level her up. But thankfully, when it comes to the weekly boss mats, she's just going to be using her own material, When Irises Bloom. And where you get When Irises Bloom is just from, killing Cartethyia, or literally multiple times. So do keep that in mind. You will have to slay her to level her up. Next up, we're going to have her weapon. And there's no actual information about this except what its name is and what it looks like. It's a pretty damn good looking weapon. So we're going to be awaiting future details on that moving forward. Next up, we're going to have Lupa and her Ascension materials. And boy, oh boy, she's going to also be using Unfading Glory, as well as the Bloodleaf Viburnum as her Ascension mats. Same exact story going on over here with Cartethyia. She's going to be a Broadblade fusion character. And when it comes to her weekly boss mats that she's going to be using, it's just going to be the Netherworld Stare. And so that one is going to be available from actually fighting Hecate, which is another bit of a, I guess, very player-friendly thing that they've been doing over here, not actually introducing a new weekly boss, so that, I mean, for every single person playing the game, you're going to be able to pre-farm both of those characters. And if you're going ahead and you're deciding to pull both of these units, I would say go and max out your Cartethyia mats first, because she's going to be the first one releasing. And, as the 2.4 patch is live and you've maxed out Cartethyia, then you can start farming more of your Hecate mats, because Lupa is going to be in the second phase. So that's going to be that moving forward when it comes to the units. We are, of course, also going to have the Chang Li skin, as well as the Carlotta skin available. And so I am of the mindset that I wouldn't be surprised if the reruns for these two characters also come during version 2.4, because it doesn't really make that much sense for the units to not be available on banner if their skins are coming out. Kuro Games is likely going to have a lot more sales on the skins if people are also able to pull the units at the same time. So we'll go ahead and see if that's something that ends up happening across the 2.4 patch. If it doesn't, then you might be wanting to, if you don't have the units yet, explore the anniversary banner in the second phase a little bit to see if that's something that you want to explore. Next up, we're going to have the new main quest, Chapter 6, Flames of Heart. And what you're going to be noticing across this new main quest is that there's actually 2 of them. And I do believe that this being Chapter 2 means that these are going to be some pretty long and beefy quests. And one thing for certain is that this first part of the main quest is going to be available at the start of the patch. And this second one that we're going to be having over here, Flames of Heart, is actually going to be available midway through the patch. And what you're going to be noticing, right, is that we don't actually get any of the Arrow Rover Ascension or Arrow Rover wave bands necessarily here, but we will be getting them here. So I just hope that maybe this is like a typo or something, and we'll be able to get the Arrow Rover, sequence node upgrades and their weapon refinements a lot sooner than this, because I'm going to be honest here, Arrow Rover kind of feels like a bit of a dinky unit without those available. And so maybe they're just going to be drip teasing all of those upgrades across the entire 2.4, to 2.8, however long it goes, arc that we have going on. Next up, just a bit of a preview of Septimont and all the different regions, everything that's going on. Very, very awesome stuff going on over here when it comes to like the visual aesthetic, that sort of theme. I think that they've definitely taken world design to a whole different level. I'm not even sure what sort of game this reminds me of. It just seems like a very original sort of Mediterranean, Roman, Greek sort of vibe going on, but with enough unique areas to make it just seem extremely fantastical. One thing you're going to notice is that it's got like a very, very sort of like medieval vibe to it. Not nearly as developed as areas like Jinzhou, right, with all the high tech. And so I'm wondering how that's going to play into the design of the story moving forward. Next up, new enemies. We're going to have the Fusion Drake over here. And so that looks like, I'm not sure which Sonata sets it's going to drop, but one of the Sonata sets that's likely going to be involved in is the new Fusion set, which we're going to get some more details about later, or we're going to take a look at the website to get those. So do keep in mind there's going to be a lot of new mobs available, and of course, new echo skills. But chances are you're really not going to be using them. We've also got the Havoc Drake, who really looks like the Electro Drake. So nothing too crazy, nothing too important going on over here. And we're also going to have the Spectro Drake too. So probably going to make it a lot easier to farm a lot of the existing 2.0 sets that were added to the game, as well as the new ones that will be coming out as well. Another mod that we have over here is going to be the Pilgrim's Shell, and I'm going to be honest here, this thing over here is like a little bit, it seems really, really dark. What this reminds me of is individuals who have gone ahead, succumbed to the dark tide after being sent on the pilgrimage, and now they've turned into whatever the hell these are. These honestly just seem like eldritch abominations, and really give me some creepy-ass vibes. But this isn't the only one. There is another monster. Yeah, there is another monster over here that's very pilgrim-oriented. But I guess separating them, we're gonna be seeing the Karasaur, who is the sort of like lizard man monster that we saw during Cartethia's story trailer. And so I guess that confirms that during Cartethia's story trailer, that was, extremely amazing, right? That actually took place in Septimont. So it is something that we might actually see in-game or referenced in-game, hopefully. And of course, that's going to have its own echo skill too. And this one over here is actually kind of insane. So I want to play it. That thing's got like 2 moves. I hope it does have like some sort of like passive bonus and is like actually useful, because it does look pretty damn neat. The next one that they're gonna have is the Devotee's Flesh, and this is the other really, really, really creepy one that, again, just makes me think that these are people that have been turned into whatever the hell this is. And so I imagine that the story in Septimont could actually get kind of dark, because, I mean, let's be honest here, this is one of the creepiest sort of enemies that they've added in Raguna so far, a region where we have gone ahead and we've been fighting like teddy bears and like, stuffed animals and stuff like that, and now we're getting into whatever the hell these are supposed to be. So yeah, definitely a different vibe for sure heading on into this. Another echo that we're gonna have over here is the Nightmare Kelpie, and this is what actually the echo skill looks like, and this bad boy is kind of crazy. I don't know if they've actually given out full details of what it does. They've only shown the attack animation, and that's pretty sick. That is pretty cool. And they're also showing the other 4-cost echo, the Lioness of Glory, and that's actually that boss monster that we were talking about before earlier on in the trailer, and this is likely going to be Lupa's 4-cost echo. And this one has quite the animation as well, and it's pretty clear, right? One of these spears is the, I think this one over here, that's what Lupa actually uses in combat. So, makes a lot of sense. And of course, this is where the enemy is going to be. And we're going to be farming these like crazy to level up Cartethyia and Lupa. There's also going to be another enemy that pops up that's going to be a bit of a reskin of the Morning Ikes with an entirely different moveset. And so this is probably going to drop its own sort of ascension mats and be used for a future character. So for the new Sonata sets, we're going to have Windward Pilgrimage, which is going to be Cartethia's main set, and then Flaming Clawprint, which is going to be Lupa's new set. This Windward Pilgrimage over here is going to give an arrow damage bonus on the 10-piece, and then hitting a target with arrow erosion increases crit rate by 10% and grants 30% arrow damage bonus. This is basically a direct upgrade over Gusts of Welkin if there's a Gust of Welcome user already on the team. And Cartethyia can also apply her own arrow erosion. Do keep that in mind. She's able to apply her own. She isn't really necessarily like a Zani over here. Zani can apply her own, but it's not really a lot. So hopefully Cartethyia can apply more, and the fact that arrow erosion has a cap of 3 stacks that goes up to 6 means that even a low amount of stack application shouldn't necessarily matter too much. We then have Flaming Claw Print, which is going to give a fusion damage bonus, which is why I said Lupa set, and then Casting Liberation increases fusion damage of Resonators in the team by 15%, and the caster's Resonance Liberation damage by 20%, lasting for 35 seconds. And so it's pretty clear that Lupa is meant to be a best-in-slot teammate for characters like perhaps a Brant and a Chang Li, because you want 2 other fusion characters on your team to make full use of this buff. And Brant's a healer, Chang Li's a sub DPS that buffs Resonance Liberation damage, and so it's kind of clear, just from the Sonata set, the Brant and the Chang Li team finally has their 3rd member. And ladies and gentlemen, truth be told, we finally have a unit that's going to be able to use Chang Li's outro skill buff. It just took about a year, close to a year after her release, but Lupa is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kind of excited. I'm very excited to see how this is going to play out. The next thing that we have coming up is actually a 7-day login event. And you might be surprised because we're just going to get a whole damn 10 pull just from logging into the game. And that's going to be in combination with the login event. So that's going to be 15 just from playing the game, not even counting in the fact that there's going to be like a new region expansion, all of this stuff going on. I imagine that the free-to-play pulls of this patch might get to like 160, maybe even 170. With this reward over here. And that's one of the factors that I'm thinking about when it comes to this patch, maybe even being better than 2.0, is the sheer number of rewards that feel like they're going to be available. And yeah, I think there's a lot to look forward to. Next up, we're going to have some of the events. There's going to be a new permanent challenge gameplay. I think that this is going to be really similar to what we had in the Black Shores, where we would go around and fight enemies in a bunch of different areas around the map and sort of, you know, clear it. There's a bunch of different territories over here. It's going to give standard pulls as well as Astrite. And that's going to be a permanent game mode that's going to be available when the duration of the event actually runs out. There might be some time limited stuff too that's factored in. You're going to see over here that the enemies are actually going to be buffed pretty significantly. What we're seeing over here is like a red mist version of the Lampy Lumen Myriad. This looks like the Nightmare version. And you'll be able to choose all those different buffs to decide whether or not, right, you want to have a bit more of a challenge as you're going ahead and completing them. One of the things that the developers said was that doing things like dodges, parries, those sort of special actions in combat will give you a bonus or actually deal more damage. And you will actually be able to, if you're doing like hitless runs, be able to clear these boss enemies without using any of the buffs at all. But the buffs will make it easier. So it's even got like that challenge element too, if that is something that you're looking for. You're a bit more of a sweaty player that's trying to have some more accomplishments in game. So it's nice that there are options for both types of players. So that's going to be that for that event. They're also going to have the Phantom Echo. That's a reward for it. Very, very, very cool. The next event that they're going to have is All Out towards the Peaks of Prestige. And this is something that some people might actually be a little bit miffed about. It is sort of like a TCG sort of thing going on with a Nightmare, with a Cuddle Wuddle skin available, a bunch of tuners, a name card, as well as that looks like either a glider or a wing skin. And the thing over here is that you might think that this is just like, oh, it's just gonna be like Genius Invocation TCG, a game mode I hate, but you're gonna actually be able to choose different characters that I do believe will have like different buffs for the Echo teams that they're going to be slotting in. You see all the different types of players over here. This is a pretty interesting lineup. I do believe we're going to have some interactions between the Phasalias and the Montellis as a part of the story of this quest. And when it comes to like the actual gameplay, you'll notice, yes, you get to like slot in units and create a team and they'll start fighting. And you might be like, oh, this literally just looks like a boring TCG. But when you look in and you actually get beyond this phase, well, ladies and gentlemen, it actually just ends up looking like team fight tactics, because it's not just going to be the individual cards fighting each other. They're actually going to all enter the field at the same time and do some fighting. And to me, this has really elevated the overall experience. If this was all I was going to see, this gameplay over here, I would agree with you, right? This looks like a little bit boring. It looks a little bit uninspired. This kind of just looks like Genius Invocation. But the fact that they've taken it this far and the mobs, you know, you can see the green HP bars for allies and the red for enemies. This to me looks like it'll actually be a lot of fun. And I'm personally a big fan of TFT2, right? Those sort of like auto chess battlers. And this looks like a great combination, a great sort of mix-up that they've had. And do keep in mind, the Resonator that you choose to slot your team is going to have specific buffs for specific types of units. So there's even more of like that replayability and that optimization angle over there. And I do think, right, like you just see over here, right, I do think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Rover will probably get to show off being a bit of a nerd in the entire process. And you get the Phantom Echo skin for doing that. So, as you can see, Phantom Echo skin, as well as it does look like these are wings, there are some pretty nice rewards for completing that entire minigame, and it looks like it's actually a good bit of fun. There's also going to be a exploration event that we're going to be having over here. So, yeah, just exploring the region of Septimont, getting some EXP mats, that sort of stuff, as well as the memory travelogue that we have going on. We're just going to take some photos. These are more of like the leisure events that are very, very, very simple across the patch, don't require a lot of effort, and will just give you all of the asterite that you're looking for to hopefully pull on some of the newest units that are coming out. And believe me, there are a lot of new units to save for. So, yeah, very, very chill. And perhaps one of the biggest parts that we're going to have is, of course, Virtual Crisis. And this is fundamentally an endgame mode. It is super relatively high challenge depending on whether or not you decide to slot in specific buffs, and they've decided to put a bit of a spin on this one. It's actually taking place in the Black Shores. They're going to have even more modules, which will unlock even higher difficulty levels, and 2 bosses. That is currently a fight that your character has taken on against Glizzy Rider and the Fallacy of No Return. And brotherman, boy oh boy, is this going to be something that I'm going to be begging to be permanent. This is going to make healer, shielder characters, that sort of stuff, even more and more viable moving forward. Virtual Crisis is one of those events that is never actually time gated. It's just based on whether or not you can beat the enemies. And I think this is going to have some of the most engaging gameplay we've seen in the history of the game. A whole different way of engaging in combat, different movesets. You know, it's going to have like those Ornstein and Smo vibes from Dark Souls, considered one of the best fights in, you know, the history of gaming. It'll probably not actually reach those peaks, but I guess depending on the types of boss combinations that can come out and whether or not their movesets are modified to adjust for them working in a team together, I think that there is so much potential here, so much replayability, and of course, we're going to be making a lot of content on all the different crazy shit you can do in this game mode with all the different combination of buffs. So that's going to be something that I'm really, really looking forward to. They're also going to have a tactical hologram available for the new Kelpie boss. And boy, oh boy, as we saw, this motherfucker creates clones, multiple of them, and has a lot of those sort of like water-oriented sort of moves. So that's going to be something really fun for us to look out for. Yeah, I'm totally gonna love this one. I'm gonna hate this one. Yeah, we'll be streaming that and making content on this fight as well, because this looks like it's gonna be one of the hardest holograms to date, considering how fast-paced the encounter is going to be. I think the last event that we're gonna be having in the patch is, of course, just the whole like Lolo thing going on. You know, you're gonna spin the wheel, do all of that. Very, very, very cool stuff. Just get all your free pulls, your free tuners, all that stuff. Get lucky, get the pull, and then get all the other rewards. We've seen it before. And they're also going to have a premium flight skin available as well. Just something that you can buy in the shop. You know, it actually does look pretty nice. It'll probably really fit characters like Shorekeeper, the Cartethyas, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's just a premium skin for your wings. Feel no need to purchase it unless you're really just looking to support the game. It does, and the devs already know, it does have some very cool special effects though, and that should really help spice up your exploration experience considering how much you fly in the Rinascita region, as well as Septimont too. So with that, I was actually wrong. That's not actually the last event. Or really, it's really a quality of life. You'll be able to just skip ahead into version 2.0 the second you arrive at Jinzhou's Resonance Nexus. And you arrive at Jinzhou's Resonance Nexus right after fighting and defeating Crownless in the tutorial fight. So this is within like the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game. You will be there, and then you can immediately start Chapter 2 and then get on into the actual good content that people are saying is in the game. They got some stuff for like optimization, global filters, basically have Instagram active on your gameplay at all times, which is pretty neat. And, you know, you can really get some different, way different vibes in how your game looks without the need of any third-party tools. So definitely something for a lot of people to play around with if they're looking to spice up how their game looks. They've also got focus mode available too, where, you know, no resonators will no longer be like busy. As long as you go ahead and you select a focus for the quest, that'll just ensure that if you do have a big quest log, you'll be able to prioritize everybody who you want to actually address. You won't end up in situations where like Phoebe's stuck in like a random side of the map and you have to complete that entire quest first before she's available for like your exploration one in like the Alvarado vaults. So that's pretty cool. And they've also got in-game guides. My career is in shambles, unfortunately. They got in-game guides now for all the different units. We'll just have to see in review how good these are. Thankfully, we'll be able to make content on this one as well, perhaps at the loss of our own. And last thing that we'll be seeing over here. GPU killers, boys. We actually saw this in the cutscene for Wuthering Waves 2.2, and I guess they've just gone ahead and added it to the main game. This looks pretty badass, you know, the stuff with the leaves and the water. But again, it's just like a visual upgrade. Alright, so now that we've taken a look at everything in the trailer, let's go ahead and see if there's anything super special that we've been missing out on. Nope, I do believe that is everything. And it looks like from this webpage over here, it does look like there might not actually be reruns for Changli and Carlotta. I would have to say, if that's the case and they're not added in or announced later on, this is a bit of a huge miss on Kuro Games' part. I'm not necessarily sure why they wouldn't have the reruns available for the characters when their skins are coming out in the patch. I think that they're definitely going to take a bit of a financial hit from this one, not get the level of sales that they were looking for on these skins, because not having the characters available on banner while the skins are out is just really a stupid move. That is the only dark mark that I have on this patch. And clearly, right, if you're somebody that isn't paying for premium currency, it shouldn't matter too much. But this is a huge L on Kuro Games' part for me. Specifically, because Jinsei was available, right, while her skin was released, and I think that led to a huge explosion in its sales, especially with things, you know, like the top-up bonus resetting, all of that. And the fact of the matter is, the top-up bonus reset for the anniversary, and you're also not allowing for a huge amount of, like, I don't know, expenditures over here by not running the characters whose skins are actually launching. So I will just say overall, huge miss if this is the case, but I don't think it necessarily takes away too much from the mass amount of content in the patch, right? These are just rerun banners at the end of the day. So I will say as a whole, this update is an absolute banger with one small mark against it, but I don't think like that small mark is enough to take away from all the crazy stuff that we're going to be seeing. So yeah, hopefully this overview, hopefully this review of all the different rewards and the events was helpful. I think that Lightly We Toss the Crown is probably going to be again, one of the best updates this game has ever had. And the only thing Kuro needs to do to make it better is add those Changli and Carlotta reruns. So with that, let me know what you all think. Peace.